This is Nifty Culture. I'm Pio, and this morning I have the pleasure of being joined by Marcus Aurelius, a big-time contributor in NFT discords, a collector, a sometimes flipper, and just all-around good guy. How's it going, Marcus?
All is well here in Stockholm, man. Good to be here.
Awesome. Well, yeah, say hello to the peeps in Stockholm for us. But yeah, I'm really excited to connect with you. And you and me are going to be focused now on the NFT market. Specifically like what projects are hot on OpenSea. I know that this is something that you're very close to, whether it's just following it versus participating in every drop. But yeah, you and me have kind of been on a couple of the same drops recently. So I'll be interested to hear what you think about where the market's at.
For sure. Sounds good.
So we were talking a little bit off air for a second. What are to you the most exciting stories of the past, 36 hours? I think the NFT market moves in 36-hour increments. So to me, the number one story is Weird Whales. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the Weird Whales was definitely weird in many ways. I mean, this thing about having this 12-year-old kid releasing a project, it definitely had that kind of wow factor. And it gave me, kind of the Fewocious factor, if you will, in some sense. Everyone's looking for the new Fewocious. And I think when they see that a 12-year-old is out there doing something, they just want to jump on it as quick as possible.
Yep.
And then, obviously people got scared straight away that it would be some kind of mishap or that something would be strange about the project. So many people got scared during the nighttime as well. But many people did some flips too. So good for them.
For sure. And I mean, just to give people context on this, basically, a friend of the show, Sophisticated Art Speculator, also known as Nick, he has been doing some sleuthing on Twitter and on other platforms on Discord, trying to dig into what's going on in the NFT market. I commend him for it. I don't know how he does it, because he really is able to uncover information and really like dox people. And for people that don't follow the NFT market that closely, something that needs to be said is there's a lot of anonymity, as in a lot of people are anonymous in the space, and there are rug pulls where projects come out and they're presented as one thing, but then they end up being another thing. A lot of people ape into them, as in buy into them, whether early or at the top. And then when they go down, those people lose money. They're left with a bad taste in their mouth. Maybe some of them don't come back to NFTs. And so I think what Sophisticated Art Speculator, what Nick has been doing, is trying to prevent that from happening and provide information to the market. And so him and other people were convinced that perhaps this project wasn't actually made by a 12-year-old. And that was kind of the big driving factor of this project, is that you're buying a project that a 12-year-old made because that's exciting and new. That's the Fewocious effect, like you just talked about. And there were concerns that that wasn't the case. But now it's looking like that is the case. So it was like a double like rug pull reverse flip. I don't even know how I'm seeing described on Twitter. And now people think that the whales are going to do well. I guess, what are your thoughts?
I mean, wasn't there another theory that, he had used some kind of pixel art generator to make these whales, right, that they've been around and stuff? So I think that's kind of the second degree. And that's kind of when I saw this pop up last night, I felt a little bit cautious because I felt like I'd seen it before, or, but now since the story checks out, since it's a 12-year-old, it's also more okay than if, some older people will try to do that. So, I like it. If it's a 12-year-old for real, I'm all for it, to be honest. It reminds me of this. There was this little girl, Emmy, before, who did art on OpenSea. That was like drawings and stuff from an iPad that she was selling. That was also kind of fun, but that was like 1 or 2 months ago or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, the space has always got new stories popping up, and yeah, like there's always issues where someone tries to dox someone. They say like, "Oh, I saw them post, needing help for this project on Fiverr or Upwork, like one of the freelance websites, like 5 days ago." Basically, trying to identify projects as low effort versus high effort. If this is actually a 12-year-old, I'm all for it. Can't speak to whether the price will appreciate from here. There's also several theories that we're at a bit of a top when it comes to the Avatar collectibles bull run. This isn't really an Avatar project, but it is a collectibles project that follows the same format as, the CryptoPunks and the Bored Apes. So there's a number of factors that are kind of at play. So yeah, I guess to move on to another very interesting project that is an Avatar project, let's talk about SupDucks. Did you buy any SupDucks?
No, I missed the train on that, and I was really sorry about that, actually.
Well, the train might still be going. The SupDucks
Yeah,
there's some real energy behind that project.
for sure, for sure. And they got in some of those really big headline making buys as well, that were also slightly controversial, some of them, but they've got a lot of the ingredients that I think made Cool Cats pop as well. They are kind of in the same lane in some way, I would say.
Yeah, and I think that's a good lane to be in. I think that's a very positive lane. Cool Cats popped. Cool Cats really just popped because of the art, because the art
Yeah,
style was super dope. There were interesting factors with Cool Cats, like where they had a higher price at first. It wasn't selling well, so they were like, screw it, we're going to lower the price. Sold out basically immediately, had a meteoric rise. Mike Tyson bought a Cool Cat and changed his profile picture to a Cool Cat, which I don't think anybody saw coming.
yeah.
And the SupDucks have this very original art style. I really like it. Like, look at this guy right here. He's got his watermelon party shirt, his cool shades, and his paper boat hat. I don't know what you want to call it, but all of them are really original. They have colorful backgrounds that aren't busy. But it looks like they've lost 80% in terms of price over the past 24 hours. So what are your
There you
thoughts on
go.
where they are, where they're
There
at
you
now? By
go.
the dip?
That might be a play for sure. I mean, nothing of what I say is financial advice or anything. I'm just speculating for fun with you. But I mean, if you would have the liquidity, I would maybe try one. Why not? But at the moment, I'm more into what we're gonna go into, which is like the Ape Gang stuff, because there's some potential there, I think. But I do think, just like you, that this art is popping, is colorful. They're going with other color gradients than many other projects, and with another expression. So definitely, I mean, we've seen duck projects before. We've seen Slacker ducks, and it's the same as with the Cool Cats. There's other cat projects, but I think when you simplify it and just make it more kind of fun and simple, it really helps.
For sure. And if I'm going to analyze this art a little bit more, just because I think it's worth analyzing, because this is again a project that's mostly gained popularity because of the art. Like you alluded to, there were some controversial buys that, friend of the show, Sophisticated Art Speculator, other people on Twitter were pointing out, because it was just basically like sketchy wallet action. Like a brand new wallet comes through and makes their first NFT buy, and it was like a 20 ETH SupDuck. So it's like, that's not something that you see every day. I think that if they're going to spend that much ETH, it's more realistic that they'd come and buy like something more established, like a CryptoPunk or something like that, or even maybe a super rare ape.
Yeah.
But when you look at the art here, things that, you talked about, the actual aesthetic, like the colors popping and everything, and just the style is absolutely valuable to me. But then really, I also like the variation between all the different ducks, right? They're all very varied, but they're not like confusing, right? So some of these projects, like the Yeti project, for example, it just had so many traits. It was so hard to tell what was rare, what was not. The art wasn't that dope. With this one, there's a lot of different traits, but the art still generates as very simple, and it actually looks like a lot of thought was put into the generation of it. So just like you said, as usual, and I want to make it clear, not financial advice. We're here to objectively talk about the projects that have caught fire or maybe haven't done so well on OpenSea, because it does seem like, the audience of Nifty Culture has a lot of interest in these collectibles projects. So I want to put out that disclaimer. But yeah, Marcus, any closing thoughts on the Ducks?
No, I just think it's super exciting to follow what's going to happen with them. And I mean, I guess this is how I think about most projects, that, you got to be ready for anything to happen in the next 24 to 48 hours. It could be a meteoric rise, or it could completely die. And I think it's, to go into like a stoic sense, you have to be super ready for that and not like react in case something completely goes to zero as well.
For sure. And I mean, when you look at this project, it's number 5 right now in the rankings. Like
Yeah.
it's above Cool Cats. It's above a lot of the other projects that kind of caught fire and then faded out a little bit. So being number 5 on OpenSea within, I think, I want to say 7 days of the drop, right? I think it dropped
Yeah.
in the past 7 days. That's no joke. So, hats off to the creators of SupDucks. I hope nothing sketchy is going on with market manipulation behind the scenes, but obviously this is the wild west of NFTs. There's no SEC regulating the NFT market, so anything can really happen. But yeah, I mean, you're talking about a project that has a 0.22 ETH floor that's within 7 days of it coming out. That's a top 5 project on OpenSea. Having said that, it can go any which way, right? You can put 0.22 in and it can go right straight to zero immediately. But I do think that if someone's looking for an interesting avatar, that's a viable candidate because the art style is cool. The ducks have a lot of attitude. And there's kind of a little bit of a story already there. So definitely a project to keep watching. And everybody that's watching right now, first of all, we really appreciate it. And feel free to put any questions, thoughts, or projects in the chat, and we'll do our best to pay attention to them as we cover. So, Marcus, what is the next project you'd like to talk about?
I mean, we could mention Ape Gang that had this meteoric rise on Sunday to Monday. Which was kind of interesting because it was not a project that minted from a website or anything, but it was kind of out there for almost a couple of weeks on a 0.8 price point, and then Saturday night they lowered it to 0.03, and through that they got more than, I think, 1,500 new unique owners in 24 hours. Which was, and also right now the floor is like 0.08. So pretty good results for that one. And my theory is that, they filled kind of a void for people who wanted an ape avatar, and it's kind of in a sweet spot in between the Basie and the CryptoPunks, with being both pixel art and an ape PFP, So I think that's what made it work, and that it was very affordable to people. But now is the true test, Is it going to last more than 2 or 3 days? Is it going to last a week? Is it going to, rank, as well as some other projects did in that time period? So I'm very excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, I think this will be a super interesting story. Exactly what you said is how I feel about it, is that, if this does well, that will be a big indicator. My gut, at the end of the day, you and me, full disclosure, everyone, me and Marcus both own, I own one of these. I think you might own more than one. I bought the top, so I bought it at 0.1. So we'll see how that investment goes. But, the thing about this is, it's an affordable way to get an avatar that is derived from Bored Ape Yacht Club. So it's like there's a little bit of kind of emotional attachment to it, because at least it implies that, or it just, it is a head nod to the Bored Ape Yacht Club. But it also brings in the pixelated factor, right? And so we've seen a trend where pixelated stuff is doing really well. I think some of the pixelated stuff is incredibly dope. I think that these look dope too, but we'll have to see if the market decides that these are worthy of, a real pump. Because at this point, from when I bought at 0.1, the floor is held relatively steady at 0.08, but it doesn't seem to be a bulletproof floor. Like, I could totally see the floor kind of dropping out of these. And like you said, it's not like something that sold out immediately. They've been kicking around for a couple of weeks. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes next for these. This might be the most interesting story to me in terms of like what comes next.
Yeah. I was just super lucky. I just kind of fell into their Discord on Sunday night, like when there were still like 250 people there. And, I saw the excitement coming. So I got like 8 of them, and I'm still holding all of them just to see what happens. So it's going to be fun to see, for sure. You gotta, I mean, you can't be in it just to flip it. You gotta be in it because of the fun as well, and also be ready to lose it all as well, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, you're buying
Yeah.
a JPEG. You're buying a JPEG, so you got to be ready to lose it all. It's not, it's not Bitcoin. It's not a stock.
Yeah.
So you were hanging out in the Discord. You bought a few of them. Do you know anything about the creation of this? Anything about the story?
I don't know too much about the team. I mean, from what I gather, they seem to be French. That's all I seem to hear, which I also think is kind of interesting.
I think that's interesting too. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For pixel art, it's pretty cool. You can't say that it's not cool. I think that they played off of the apes, but there's also some originality, like with some of these different kind of styles. I like not every attribute mirrors the actual bored apes, correct? Or do all
Yeah, yeah,
of
yeah.
them not?
There seems to be some original traits and other stuff as well, and also in the way they execute it is different. So, I mean, I'm all for it.
For sure. And so that's a top 15 project right now on OpenSea. So that's an interesting one to look at. So let us take a look then. Why don't we take a look at FameLadySquad, something that, again, you and I are both owners of. This is a project that Gary Vaynerchuk had hyped up the same night that he hyped up this project, and he also hyped up Curio Cards. And I think he's actually followed up on this project since then. Like, he's tried to hype it again. He's popped into the Discords. So what are your thoughts on this one? What made you buy FameLadySquad?
This one, I just think it oozes of quality. You know, I like the art. I like that it's a female-driven project. It's a female team as well. You know, we hope at least, but it seems to be. And I don't know. It just indicates quality for me. It felt good, and it felt like they have a very strong community when you went into the Discord as well. And the creators are always doing stuff. They're planning an airdrop now of these crowns, I think, in the coming week or so. So we will see if it rejuvenates through that. You know, it's been going up and down as well. But it just feels like it could be one of those long-term projects, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it could too. What I think would really help this project the most, and again, full disclosure, I own it, you own it. What I think could definitely help this project is if the creators weren't anonymous, like if the creators came on a YouTube channel or something like ours and showed their faces and showed that they are women. I think that would be very bullish. It's
Yeah.
great to have a project that's made by women, and you say that you're a woman and everything like that. But I do think in this sector, in the NFT space, where there's so much anonymity and there's so many rug pulls and there's so much deception at times, it would be really good for the founders to show themselves. I'm not implying at all that they might not be women, but I have seen people just kind of spread that on Twitter, which could be grounded in nothing. It could be complete BS, like complete bullshit. But I do think it would be very bullish if they actually showed their faces. I was also attracted to this project because it's original artwork. I think a very important thing is that every single one of these avatars is desirable, in the sense that we've seen some of these avatar projects not have every single generation, every generative mint be desirable. And to me, that's like really bad. Like if you don't want, if someone wouldn't want every single one, it doesn't make any sense to me. And with this project, I do think that people, could see themselves owning every single one. Yeah. Any other thoughts on this project and where we could go from here?
I'm not sure, but one thing we didn't mention was like the number of mints. I mean, both this one, how much was this? Was it about 8K, I think?
Yeah, I
Something
think it
like
was
that.
8888.
Yeah, exactly. And Ape Gang was 10K. The weird whale thing was like 3. So I think the amount of mints is gonna play in more and more into what happens. And the space is getting crowded, so it's only getting harder from here on.
Yeah, I totally agree. I talk about 36-hour cycles all the time, and how projects come out in 36-hour cycles. There's always like a new kid on the block, so to speak. The other thing is that a lot of times when a project is hyped up, like even 2 or 3 days in advance, that's kind of a lifetime, right? So everyone's looking at one project, like Bulls on the Block, for example. Everyone was ready for Bulls on the Block. Everyone was excited about Bulls on the Block. And then Hash Demons just comes out right before, steals all the attention for Bulls on the Block. Then there's one little mishap with Bulls on the Block where the gas was too high and there was like a low number of unique holders, and all of the kind of, all of the glamour of Bulls on the Block got washed away. Obviously, the project has been doing okay since then. We're actually going to be talking with the artist tonight at 7 p.m. on Spaces. So, I'm not saying that Bulls on the Block is dead, but I'm using it as an example where if there's too much lead time before a project, another one can just swoop in. And that's not the only example of that. We've seen other examples of that already too.
Yeah. Attention shifts very quick here. So you should always be ready for that, for sure.
No question. And just some history on the price action of this project, because I've watched it pretty closely. I believe the mint price was either 0.05 or 0.06. Do you remember what the
Yeah.
mint
It
price
was,
was?
I remember it was 0.5 and I got in at 0.59. So yeah, I think that was a good price point for them, and they're still doing well, considering that, I would say.
Yeah, still holding at almost a 3x gain. The first day it minted, like you said, at 0.05. Saw a lot of action, a lot of sales at 0.065 right after that. I think that was a Friday, right? So
Yeah.
all day Friday, high volume of sales, a lot of action on Twitter, but staying at about 0.065. And then that night, Gary V tweeted about it. And I remember I woke up the next morning and it was up to like 0.19, 0.2. And then
Yeah.
it's been pulling a Bitcoin and it's been bouncing between 0.14 and 0.19. So right now it's at 0.14. So it's going to be really interesting to see if it moves to the upside or if it starts to kind of drop below this floor. So this is a project that I'll be continuing to look at. In terms of rankings, it's still a top 20 project, and it's only probably been about 8 or 9 days since it came out. Yeah, it's number 9. So it's a top 10 project. So a lot to look at. 24 hours, it's down 40%, but obviously it can always come back. So definitely an interesting project to keep on our radar. How about crypto hodlers? Did you buy any of these?
No, they were not for me. I just, at the heart, I'm an NFT collector. I love the art as well, and I just felt this wasn't for me, this art. I don't like this coloring. I don't, and it's each to his own, but it just really, really wasn't my vibe at all. No, nothing bad against the project or anything. It just, sometimes I make decisions like that as well, and it just wasn't for me.
Yeah, I totally get it. I actually think that it's a very original art style, and it's an art style that I actually do like. My only qualm with it from an art perspective is that I think it falls into the category that I was talking about before of a project where not every single mint is desirable. And that's like a concern for me. Like when you look at the Bored Apes, every single Bored Ape is desirable in some way just because the Bored Ape infrastructure is so cool and so well done. Like just the way the apes look, you can kind of, take any one, including the ones wearing a dress, including the ones that are less desirable, but someone will still buy it, someone will still want it. With these ones, I think a lot of them are very desirable. However, I think a lot of them also aren't. And so that would be the concern on this. But this one also got some hype. V tweeted about this one. Tom Bilyeu, who's going to be on our show on July 27th, the co-founder of Quest Nutrition, he was also tweeting about it. I think on the same thread as Gary V. I haven't paid a ton of attention to the price action of this since the drop. Do you know what the mint price was?
I'm not sure, actually. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Regardless, as you mentioned, though, it seems like the influencer game is getting traction now and becoming more and more important in the launch of these projects, which it wasn't maybe in the same way a month ago or 6 weeks ago, but now like even more mainstream influencers are not just NFT influencers, but mainstream influencers are getting into the game and really, really affecting these sales.
No question. And we'll talk about the Dogepound next because, there's an influencer behind that. And you're right. You're definitely right about that. But my question is, are these influencers impacting the project only at the beginning? As in, are they impacting it between primary sales, right? Because getting one of these projects to sell out, look, I don't want to, present it as like a small feat. I think it's no small feat. I congratulate anybody that gets one of these projects to sell out. I think it's incredibly impressive. But we do see a lot of them sell out, and a lot of them sell out very quickly, even if they don't go well. Like Goblin Goons had some janky stuff going on with it, and it's still just sold out within 30 minutes, right? So I don't think that selling out is a major, major, major kind of factor in calling a project a success at this point. That will probably change. I don't think it's sustainable to just put out every single project and have it sell out. But I think that the influencers can make a big impact from primary. So like from when it launches and when it sells out through like the first kind of run up. Like we've seen that with hodlers. We've seen that with a lot of these FameLadySquad, Curio. Well, Curio cards is a different story, but that kind of initial pump, But then I'm unsure whether the influencers have an impact great enough to get that pump to keep going. I think we can talk about deadheads later if we want to, because Gary Vee had a big, kind of influence on that one. And we just had the founders on yesterday. Seems like the project's still doing very well. But what are your
Yeah.
thoughts on that, on like the sustainability of an influencer's influence?
Yeah. I think it's also a matter of if they are actually, invested in the project more than 24 hours, which didn't seem to be the case with the Alex Becker and Dogepound necessarily, but maybe would be more of a case with Gary Vee and the Deadheads possibly. Like this is the kind of thing I would look at least. Like, are they just coming in for the week, for the fad, or are they people who are gonna like keep supporting the projects later on in 2 weeks or a month or even later?
For sure. And so I just noticed, and sorry if I've been ignoring the chat, guys. I'm just focused on the conversation, but I really appreciate you guys putting things in the chat, and I encourage you to continue to do so. I see Jacob Huxley here wrote 0.03 in the chat. I'm assuming that's the mint price of crypto hodlers. So that means they are still trading at like, a 2x gain, like they're trading at 0.07. So still definitely not a dead project by any means. Anybody that bought it at mint, as long as they didn't pay gas prices through the roof, has made money. So what I have on the screen right now is the Dogepound NFT project. So this actually launched 8 days ago on Monday, but it's sold out on Saturday. And my belief is that a big reason that it's sold out is internet influencer Alex Becker, like you just alluded to, not as big as Gary Vee, probably not as big as Tom Bilyeu either, but he does have a dedicated following, and he is quasi in NFTs. He talks more about crypto on his YouTube channel. Like he's always talking about Cardano and telling people to sell Bitcoin, which I think is a really weird thing to do. That isn't going to age well, but that's a different story. But he owns CryptoPunks. He has, I think, more than one CryptoPunk, and he's had it for a bit. So he's definitely, got some credibility in NFTs. And he started tweeting about this on Saturday. It sells out and it rips from, I think, 0.06 mint price to 0.3 was the floor for a period of time yesterday. So what are your thoughts on this project? What made you aware of it? I think it was Alex Becker. And let me know what you think of it.
Yeah. I think I saw that. I saw that tweet, and I had one a few days before that, and I just decided to sell it. Because I really felt at that time I was like, okay, this is going to be a 24-hour thing. He basically wrote he was going to pump it and dump it, but as you say, like, yeah, I mean, he wrote that, so he was like, I'm gonna sell a bunch of these. I just bought a bunch of these. But I think there's something there for sure. I do think this, if you want to go into Doge projects, I think this looks much better than the previous older Slumdog project. Mm-hmm. But once again, there's a host of dog projects out there, and I think it's not going to slow down. There's going to be many, many new ones, so it's going to be fierce competition for all dog projects, including this one.
For sure. People love dogs. I think it was smart for them to do the Dogecoin dog, because it's like you kind of get 2 for 1. You get people that love dogs and also the Dogecoin crowd, which I feel like, is a solid crowd if you're looking to make money on an NFT project. But I do wonder, if this is going to continue to appreciate. Alex Becker's claim is that by midweek, like Wednesday, I guess this week, it'll be at a 0.5 floor. I think that that's kind of a gnarly claim to make because, again, this isn't like a stock. There aren't really fundamentals on this. These are JPEG images, but he might have some insider info about influencers, whales that are going to ape into it. So it's another interesting story. I mean, he was right that it was going to appreciate after the primary sale from 0.06 to 0.33. A friend of mine that isn't in NFTs but follows Alex Becker was going to ape into it, but he just kind of didn't know what was going on. But if he bought 10 of them like he planned to, that would have been a pretty fat sack if he sold it at 0.3. So, interesting project to look at. So I want to call out some of these folks in the chat. Someone said, where do you see Wicked Cranium's floor in December? I mean, that's a really hard question to answer. How closely have you followed Wicked Craniums, Marcus?
I'm definitely following it. I only got one at mint. I sold that one and got another one. So I'm still keeping one, and I'm probably gonna keep it to December. That's just me, but I think this is one of the highest quality projects still. They haven't been consistently performing or anything like that, but I just think the art is still out there, the theme is still out there. They're very unique compared to other projects, and all it might take is another trigger event and they could be on top of this again. And they seem to have a very dedicated crowd as well, which is always good this far after the mint.
Yeah, I agree with you. The art quality is definitely there. I think that it, caught people's attention right away. Some notable influencers, someone that we've had on the show a few times, a friend of the show, Sven. He's very big into the Wicked Craniums. I like him a lot. It's been a kind of up and down roller coaster in terms of price action for them. I don't own any. It sounds like you still own one. It's hard for these things to have sustained, like high price action. It really is, like sustained value. But I don't think it's impossible. And one of my partners, it seems like, put Craniums pump around Halloween. I think that's fair. I think that unless a bunch of new Halloween themed projects come out, it's basically Craniums and Deadheads right now that people could make their avatars around Halloween. So that's an event. If you're talking 3 months into the future, obviously that's a lifetime from now. But there's also a very, very, very big belief that October is when Bitcoin will be ripping to new all-time highs. And so if Bitcoin and ETH are ripping to all-time highs, like how do you think an all-time high with ETH affects, Wicked Craniums or really any NFT project, like the NFT market as a whole?
Yeah, obviously, or probably not that great. So yeah, we definitely need to wait and see. So but if that happens, yeah, October won't be the best month for Wicked Craniums, maybe.
So why do you think that an all-time high for ETH negatively impacts NFTs? Because they're traded in ETH and it would just be so much money?
I mean, it's basically it could be because of people like our friend Daniel, Sanaguera, who all the time wants to just move their assets and go into what they believe in. And if ETH and Bitcoin pumps, I'm just want a full disclosure. I'm not in crypto. I'm only into NFTs. That's my thing.
Really?
But
wow.
But
okay.
yeah. But if that happens, I mean, people will move their assets from NFTs into liquidity, in ETH and Bitcoin. That's just my opinion. But, what's your take on that?
Well, I mean, so my take is going to be more based on what I would do, not necessarily what the market does, because I think that you're probably right about what the market will do, but I think I operate a little bit differently. A lot of people get scared when it comes to prices crashing on anything. Well, I would get scared for prices crashing on NFTs because, again, there aren't the fundamentals to back them up, right? But like with Bitcoin, for example, my conviction is incredibly high. With ETH, my conviction is actually growing quite a bit, and I think that for the short term, ETH is going to be a very, very, very solid asset to hold. Like I don't see anything demonetizing ETH in the short term. I can't say that over 100 years, but I can say that over 100 years for Bitcoin, right? So for me, when I see Bitcoin going to under 29K or under 30K today, it was in like the 29s, I get excited because I have incredibly high conviction in the asset. I bought more this morning. It was like a no-brainer for me too. I get really excited. I have friends that panic, that like start sending text messages that they're upset, and I don't really understand it because it's like you own the asset. That's what you signed up for, and actually that asset that you elected to buy before is just cheaper now. So if you went to the grocery store and you wanted to buy eggs, and the same eggs that you always buy are 50% off, I'm pretty sure that you'd get excited. So I am confused why people don't do the same thing when it comes to like Bitcoin and ETH. I would think with the low prices right now, people would be getting out of NFTs now to buy into ETH so that when it rips at the top, they can sell the ETH for NFTs. And it's like, well, we spent, it was way less money before. But it is a little complicated when you're trading between a digital asset of an NFT and a digital currency / token of ETH. It can get like pretty complicated. And maybe I just sound like an idiot right now, and someone that's way more well-versed than this would tell me I'm totally wrong. But to me, I'm all about buying low. So if ETH is cheap now, I want to put liquidity into ETH and then sell it when it's high if I'm into doing that. I don't really sell. I pretty much just buy, and I'm trying to figure out how to properly sell NFTs. So in other words, long-winded response, there's a lot of variables and I have no idea what's going to happen.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, I'm not the best person for that either, but for keeping track on the NFT market at this moment, I think it still has some way to go. We can still ride on it for a while before we go into a dip again.
I think that's fair. So let's talk about one more project, and I appreciate you being on here with me for so long, Marcus. So let's talk. What would you think is the last project to kind of wrap on? Some people were asking about art blocks. Some people were asking about, I guess, Forgotten Runes, Wizards Cult. Anything that you can think of?
I mean, both of those are good. I'm not, deep into them. I haven't done like deep research into them. Forgotten Runes, Wizards Cult seems to be still trucking. Art blocks. I mean, that's cool, of course. That's cool. That's the technology edge to it, and I understand why that works so well, for sure.
Yeah, the art block stuff, I could see this being featured in like a museum right now. I think that contemporary art museums would probably pick this up. When it's like when there's so much variation, it's really hard for me to like be able to kind of follow it. You have to get deep into these things. I haven't bought any. I've paid attention to it, but not nearly as much to be able to speak on it from an educated perspective. But I know that they've been selling quite a bit. Like we should look up, actually, I'm going to look up the activity and just pull up the recent buys. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's some pretty high buys that happened, today. I mean, look at that. An hour ago, we got an ETH buy. I mean, these things routinely sell for over 1 ETH. Here's a 3 ETH buy. Here's another 3 ETH buy. So they're definitely selling. There's definitely money going into art blocks.
Yes. And there was this other infinite art project as well over the weekend. I don't know if you saw that, where you kind of generated it with your ETH address.
I did not see that. Is that on the rankings page?
No. I don't think they went there, but they were kind of funny because they had this kind of curve where, the first 200 mints were 0.01, and then after 500, 0.02, and it can go on forever. So it's like after 2000 mints, it was like 0.5 to mint one or whatever. Oh, yeah. And then we have the biopills, of course.
Yeah, let's talk about these and then we'll wrap. So these caught fire, but I think it was pretty predictable that they were going to cool off. Some people were saying they were low effort. I actually thought that they were okay. Now that I look at them, it's like it's kind of hard to tell whether they're low effort or not. The art style is definitely not magnificent compared to some of the stuff that we looked at today. When I look at these against SupDucks, it's pretty apparent that SupDucks are kind of, they're doper than these. These, I think, were minted for 0.03, if I'm not mistaken, or either 0.03 or 0.06. Do you remember?
I don't remember exactly. But regardless, I think that maybe the reason why they haven't taken off more, like in a long term or whatever you want to call that, a few days, is because we haven't really seen the utility yet, or how people would use them as, filters or whatever with the different, properties that they have. If that was usable straight away, that would have been a completely different scenario, So maybe it's just one of those projects that are a little bit early, so to speak.
Yeah, and the problem is it's not really that great to put out a project and then have to like follow up with the features that you talked about when you first put it out. If you can get that done in like a week, like for example, Top Dog Beach Club, we've had the founders on there. All the things that they've been promising, they've been able to deliver like pretty fast. They were like, you're going to be able to name your dog. We're going to give you all the PSV files so that you can look at all the attributes and find hidden attributes on your dog. They've delivered on those like within a couple of weeks. Pretty much everything that they've talked about, they've delivered about very quickly. Full disclosure, I do own 3 Top Dogs. I don't own any of these pills. But the thing is, I think a lot of these projects, they want to get the project out there so fast because they want to sell out. They want to make a ton of ETH off the project. And I totally understand that. But if you want it to have staying power, like things change so damn fast in the NFT market, right? 36-hour cycles. It's like you need to deliver on the things that you're promising really fast, unless they're like a grandiose thing, like Deadheads is delivering on a TV show. I don't think it's fair to just say, hey, we're going to make a TV show in 1 week. But if you can start delivering on the things that you're saying that you're going to deliver on immediately, to me, that's the way to do it. But obviously there's the balance because they want to take advantage of this hot collectibles market. They want to make 300 to 500 ETH real quick, This one sold out, I think, in one day. So that's a very appealing thing. It's tough, right? It's really good for the creators. Anyone that makes 300 ETH is in a pretty good spot. But if you want that sustained longevity, like the apes have, where they're trading at a 5, 6, 7 ETH floor, and you're getting a percentage of every one of those trades, you're just getting ongoing income. It must be insane. You're going to have to do things right. You can't do it kind of shoddily. And I'm not saying that this is a shoddily done thing, but at the same time, if you don't have the things that you're talking about ready to rock and roll within 1 week, 10 days of the drop, it's not really screaming that you were ultra prepared, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a pretty good take, I would say.
Okay, well, yeah, man, I really appreciate you coming on. I hope that we can do this again. But yeah, I mean, it's an exciting time in collectibles. Any thoughts on the market as a whole? Any predictions you want to make? I know that's like the hardest thing to do in the NFT space is make any kind of prediction. But you got anything for me?
That is so hard. I mean, I'm very bullish on keys and stuff with utility. You could see stuff like your prior guest Sam Madhu. She released the Demon Key that will give you access to upcoming drops on Nifty Gateway and stuff like that. And also, your prior guest S Wolfshan, he has his keys as well. And I think that's gonna blow up for sure in the coming months as well, with other creators doing stuff like that. Other than that, I won't make any predictions. Just like I said before, like anything can change in 24 hours. So, just do what you think is best and play on that, and be ready that it can go either way. That's what I would say. And I'd also just like to make a little shout out to my guys at the Door Gang, the 6 and 5 door, that we have our own little community around for everyone that owns that NFT. Because I think if it wasn't for them, I would have been in this game for this long, if you could call that, since March. But those have been a big part of me staying on for this and, helping me through it. So big shout out to them.
Big shout out to Door Gang, and I know you rep Door Gang, and that's awesome. People need to understand that the communities that get built in NFTs, just the fun that you have with these gangs. Door Gang, I know like Ted Chin and Swolf Chan, they have like Waifu Gang, which they have a lot of fun with. There's the Orange DAO, which is all the Bored Apes with orange backgrounds, which is just an absolute riot. If anyone pops into there, I recommend it because it's just so damn funny. Even if you don't have an orange ape, they'll just welcome you with open arms and send you a bunch of ridiculous orange memes as soon as you show up. But that's like what keeps people in the space, because you need to have that kind of connection that keeps you in. Because if you're just buying NFTs all the time, you're probably going to get like wrecked at some point, right? Because it's just such a damn casino. There's rug pulls. There's just things that go to zero. It's a tough one.
I think it's a hard place to be alone and not be like part of a community or something where you can vent. And I mean, that's even great for this channel, that you have your Discord for the people who follow the show. And, without that, I don't really see the fun in it, so to speak.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Someone said, can Marcus repeat that? Which keys is he talking about? Marcus, do you want to just give a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of keys out there. I mean, this is not recommendations, but I mean, maybe the most known is the Meta key, that many of you might have heard of. But there's also like the Mitsuki key that has, a lot, that has been good to many people, I think. And then I was talking about the Demon keys, which is a little bit of a different approach, which is connected to an art drop by the artist Sam Madhu that is coming up in August. So they are releasing those in 5 tiers and are going to make some kind of games and competitions around it. I just think it's great. I'm a big supporter of Sam Madhu as an artist, so I just think that's fun for the community.
Absolutely. I love Sam Madhu as an artist too. She has been on the show for an interview. She actually is gifting NFT Culture one of those keys from the upcoming drop, or one of the NFTs. I have to check with Mal if it's a key. So thank you so much, Sam. We really, really appreciate it. And she told me she's getting a new webcam and a mic so that we'll do an interview that sounds better this time. So I'm very excited about that, because the quality of the last interview from a technical perspective was not that great, but it still has good stuff. So go and watch it. And yeah, thanks everyone for watching this. Please join our Discord. Malachi popped the link in. I will actually just pop the link in again. And Malachi just said it's a key. So it sounds like Sam gave us a key. There you go. So there's our, that's actually just a YouTube link. Give me the Discord link. That is the Discord link right there. Please join our Discord. We're always in there. There's some pretty cool people in there. Tom Bilyeu is technically in the Discord. He's a billionaire, co-founder of Quest Nutrition. We have Trevor Owens in there right now. He's like a big venture capital investor. He's investing in NFT projects this year. I think he said he's invested in a few already. So everybody, please try to get involved with the community. Marcus is nice enough to hang out in there and always give really good insights. So make sure that you hit him up when you're in there. And Marcus, thanks so much for joining me today, man. This was awesome.
Thank you, man. Have a great day.
Yep. Sounds good. Thanks, everyone.